What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Snapchat. Diamondback is coming out, and Toxic fans are joy. She looks freaking great. Probably the best card this month. But we also got a brand new game mode launching Tuesday. We're going to break the whole thing down, what you need to know, the FAQs, and then lastly, we're going to be talking about Marvel Snap in China. They've got their own game with tournaments and a lot more like exclusive variants, and Alex and I we're going to give our opinion on that. We're going to talk about that all today on this episode of the Snapchat. And as always, I am joined by Mr. Alex Kocha. And my friend, we got a lot of new coming to Marvel Snap. We got a new game mode. We had a new series drop announced, which we're going to talk on your side. We've got ourselves new OTAs hitting in the 27th of February. So this Thursday, we got March 4th patch, another OTA on the 13th. And so a lot of newness coming to the game. How do you feel, man, about the new game mode coming out? We're going to go and jump into the weeds of it, man. But are you pumped for that? Does it get you excited for Snap this week?
I'm excited for Snap. I'm always excited for Snap. I think that's the one thing that keeps me consistently making content is that at its absolute core, I still enjoy playing this video game, and I'm going to continue playing this video game. And I love talking about this video game with Cozy Snap. But I think that I am excited. And when you talk about the OTAs and stuff like that, there is a definite pulse of content and a pulse of change. And I think that's something that Snap does very well. That perhaps we're going to have some constructive criticisms of stuff and here and there, but ultimately, we have to be honest, that pulse of Snap's kind of content is actually pretty valuable. Even as content creators ourselves, it gives us opportunities to get excited about the game, share things with the game. We got new cards coming out every single week. We have new game modes once a month, Twitch drops, whatever happens to be. There's always something happening. So I do think that Marvel Snap does do a good job of trying to keep us interested.
Yeah, so I figured out that pulse more and more as I was doing Rivals stuff, right? And so Rivals and a lot of live service games have seasons, right? They have a season, they have a bunch of content come out. Hearthstone, same thing, a bunch of content, and then it's like a long wait period. And it did make me, especially in content creation, it's so much easier to content create when you have something every week, right? That there is a nice weekly pulse for Snap. And on game mode weeks, months, especially new ones with new rules, I get especially excited because of creativity and bringing new stuff to the game. On that front, with new cards, you get creativity, with theory crafting. New game mode kind of opens up the door for a lot. So that is definitely exciting in my opinion. Also, guys, saw your comments. A lot of people said give Captain America a chance. They thought it was really good. The critics were wrong, and I will be doing so. I have not seen it yet. This is probably the longest I've gone without seeing a release of it, but I will. And anyway, man, what do we talk? We know what we're talking about over here, buddy. What are we talking about on your side of the Snapchat?
Cozy, on my side of the Snapchat, we're going to talk about Red Wing. It's the card leaving the Spotlight cache. So if you're trying to figure out whether or not you should be spending your resources on Red Wing, we're talking about that. We'll also be talking about series drops and whether or not it was enough. Series drops have been announced, and Cozy and I are going to break them down and go through the cards and let you know what we think. And then finally, as always, our Snapchat mailbag.
Well, let's get right to it. Let's talk about the new card coming out, guys. Happy Monday. Diamondback is coming to Snap. And when we went through the cards in the month, I think this was my highest ranked card. Alex, you liked her a good amount. Were you at 3.5? I think is what it was.
I said 3.5, yeah, because I was very unsure if I wanted to go 3, but I saw the upper potential towards 4, and you did come in at 4. Okay. I do think that I can see this being a 4-star card for sure. I think it's probably the best of the bunch.
Yeah, and it's not hard to stand out this month, and I think she does. Ongoing enemy cards here, Afflicted with negative power, have an additional -2. So in theory, a 311 obviously needs some help from other cards, but obviously a very good stat line. Let's start with star ratings again. Do you give her? So are you gonna give her a 3.5 again? You give her a 4? What do you have?
I feel like I'm gonna stick around the 3.5 to 4-star range, which I mean I'm kind of cheating, right? I'm not kind of picking one hard. But the problem I see with her is obviously she's very niche. She doesn't have a wide application, but she's probably going to be very good in the decks that she's very good in, if that makes sense. I think that she has a very clear spot. It's exactly what we saw with Ares. We're Ares has one deck, maybe 2. And we're oh, does that make it not, is it take a star off of the snap? Well, it's well, no, Ares actually slaps, right? And with Diamondback, I expect her to slap in the Toxic style deck. So I'm willing to go to 4 stars here.
I think that she is going to cause Affliction to get a nerf. That's how, I'm not, I think usually that's related with 5-star cards, but I think that she is going to bring it over the top that much more. We just got to bump up to something like Scorpion, which we'll lean into here in a moment. I think she's going to be good. Yeah, she's niche, but the deck is already good. not the high Evo one necessarily, I guess, which is where we can start, but more of the other Affliction synergies. You're saying you were playing some high Evo lately. Abomination, does this, you got the Wasp in there, Cyclops, the Thing. Does this bring this Abomination build a little bit more to the forefront? Is high Evo still miles off? What do you think?
So it's funny. So Cozy's referencing a conversation we spoke before hitting, like while we were getting ready to start recording. We were talking about how, like, well, what have you been playing? I'm like, I've been playing lots of high Evo actually. And during the last Twitch drops, I played a bunch of high Evo, and primarily because I just needed to know. I needed to know. Okay, I wasn't going to play Red Wing. I wanted to play high Evo. And I found that Luna Snow's awesome. I think I'm coming around on Luna Snow, honestly. She's a 3-6. I mean, come on, let's be honest. And my deck was running Abomination. And man, the opportunity to get Abomination out for free is actually relatively impactful and relatively easy to pull off. And with the one thing about Diamondback is that obviously she won't perpetuate the Abomination effect, right? Because the negatively afflicted cards, they just get more negatively afflicted by Diamondback, whereas Abomination just wants them to get hit at all. Like, they just want Abomination just wants -1, and Diamondback just makes that dive even further. So while she's not necessarily an activator for Abomination, she definitely allows you to like push that Cyclops lane even further. Like, it gives you that extra like just powerful push. I wonder if she would ever get played on turn 6. It's an opportunity, obviously, as an ongoing, but there's a lot of contention in those types of Evo decks, despite the fact that it's not actually the greatest deck out there. The cards that are in there, like, you're not going to cut Cyclops for Diamondback, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so I feel like this conversation could be with high Evo, and it could also just be with the cards, the decks she's going to synergize with. The way I see Diamondback is a lane winner, and I think that's super important at a 3 cost for this style of deck, because Ajax, we already have other cards that can win their lane. And I think what this deck needs the most is like another vertical lane winner, right? Hazmat does, what Hazmat does well. And I feel like at 3, even though you can preset her up, it is obviously a tail, sign what you're doing, but it almost doesn't matter because you've got that. And then in the high Evo deck, for example, Abomination and maybe Cyclops, whatever, can kind of hold the other lane down. I guess obviously Diamondback would be with Cyclops in that example. But I feel like they're a lane winner, which previously you were kind of hoping on Cyclops to be that, which he definitely can dismantle a lane, but he does need a little bit more help, a little bit more boosting. And then now you can kind of focus on Abomination and their lowered power. Clearly, Luke Cage, all that good stuff is involved. But dude, I feel like not only do I just like love this buff, and obviously we know that this was done clearly ahead for Diamondback, but Scorpion, bro. Scorpion getting boosted up just a little bit right in time, up to a 2-3. This is Diamondback's best friend because it's on curve. You want to play him on 2 anyway. And then you've got, a ton of cards that are benefiting Ajax, Abomination, Diamondback, and get things going. I think Scorpion's going to feast.
It will, and it's obviously a curve play as well. But what I want to mention is that I don't think that I saw some commentary that Scorpion's buff was because Diamondback wasn't good. And I actually don't agree with that. I think Diamondback is good. And I think that the Scorpion buff, it's a buff that's designed to be like, hey guys, Surtur's kind of out of control. Surtur's very, very good right now, despite the nerf it's already received. And I think that, like, even saw in the OTA patch notes where they essentially said, like, hey, like, Scorpion messes up Surtur decks. It messes up their hand prior to their opportunity to play. Because the earliest you can play a 4-drop is on turn 3 with Zabu. Scorpion deals with that. And then you can follow up the Scorpion with a Cassandra Nova. And that deck is effectively nullified with its turn 6 line of Scar, right? So I think that this buff was ironically kind of like, hey, we don't necessarily want to keep nerfing Surtur. Here's a tool to deal with it. Oh, and also Diamondback's coming out for some additional synergy as well. And it does. Scorpion's fantastic with Diamondback. And if you think about Scorpion and Cassandra Nova, that gives Diamondback a ton of opportunity to get played down on turn 6 and take your shot at winning a lane with a 3-drop while also playing something else in another location.
Yeah, curving in or being played late is why I think she's going to be good. And then in addition to all this, just playing Diamondback and US Agent together, that's another just 2-card combo that most likely can hold a whole lane down. Like they have enough firepower between that. So think about that, man. And we've seen this in the past. If you have a deck that only needs 2 cards specifically to kind of hold a lane down, and then everything else you have going on, you can focus in another lane, That's powerful. That's a very good card, and that's why I'm leaning into this. Laufey's coming out this week too, and Laufey does, afflict negative power as well. There's a lot of mini cards that you can combine together. Lasher came out last exclusive game mode. Very good card with Diamondback. So I see the upper end of the turns being useful for Ajax, the Hazmat, whatever, it might be Spider-Woman, whatever, but that having its own lane, mainly Ajax. And then the other one just being Diamondbacks. I think it's going to feast, dude.
I was thinking about some other, like obviously combo-centric cards, and I want to do a little bit of coping here, okay? What about this type of line, right? You have the Silver Sable line, which obviously, if you're going all in on the toss, you got the Silver Sable and the Scorpion Cassandra Nova. But you can also do something like Silver Sable into White Widow into Red Guardian. And you could hit the Widow's Kiss with the Red Guardian. And now, not only is it -3, but it's also been impacted by the fact that it can no longer be destroyed, right? It's lost its text. And because it's been debuffed, Diamondback is going to apply its effect to it, while also it's still taking up a spot in that location, which gives them less opportunity to outpower you there. So I was thinking about that. I was like, you know what? You're going to run Red Guardian anyway, because I think it's a really good catch-all tech piece right now, specifically against even like a Luke Cage if you want to use it there. But on curve, you can use it to hit the White Widow's Kiss, which Diamondback would love.
Yeah, and I think what's compared to other archetypes, what's good about Affliction decks is when they do get out of control. We've talked about it. Luke Cage is obviously such a huge, just like shutdown to where I could probably guesstimate that we're gonna get a big spike in these kind of decks again, and then Luke Cage kind of enters the meta a bit, does his thing, and like it's a surefire way to shut down everything this deck is trying to want to do, right? Because the Luke Cage is going to obviously kill Diamondback in her entirety. But I agree. I like the idea of adding more cards and being able to, essentially make Diamondback's value go up that much more. There's cool, cheeky stuff you can do. I think the basic stuff's going to do good, but hey, dude, you can Mystique her, you can Moonstone her. I don't think you need that much support there at that one lane. You have locations going for you. There's like 5, 6, 7 locations that have negative power stuff involved. Diamondback immediately just wants to feast from that. And then obviously, as we've stated, the simple Hazmat, combo with Diamondback is going to be a surefire thing. Even though it's a basic Infliction card, I feel like she's going to set off a trend, and mark my words, it may not be this next OTA, but the next one is when we see a change to Affliction decks.
So Affliction has been super good for like a while.
Yeah.
And I think that like the Ajax style decks have been constantly in like that top 5 range. They've occasionally been near the top of the win rate according to Untapped, but they've been very consistently in the mix of those like top 10 style decks. Like you can definitely get to Infinite and Climb with Ajax decks. There's no question about it. One of the major challenges we're going to see, and we've talked about this in the past, is that this is going to be a card that's going to feel awful the first week because of Luke Cage, because it's a catch-all defense against it, and also Luke Cage is often used in Affliction decks themselves. Like the Ajax decks, and I know I've mentioned this before, but Ajax decks used to not run Luke Cage because they wanted the biggest Ajax possible. And then now they actually run Luke Cage because Ajax number big enough to win the lane. You don't need to worry about that. You want to mitigate the effect of some of your other plays. You can do things like Man-Thing and US Agent. So the problem we have now from a design perspective is that you have Luke Cage that is also an ongoing card. And so it comes down on turn 6 and it just nullifies the entire effect. Just like you can use Diamondback on turn 6, they can use Luke Cage on turn 6.
And I want to say this, people may have forgotten, Ajax was highly hated, even by us on the in-review segment.
Yeah.
Post-release. And like across the board, Ajax was not, and it's the first week effect. And no matter how much we've prepped ourselves, like it's going to be bad this week, we always just see recency bias and we're like, see, it didn't do good. And Ajax for weeks had that. Weeks, and people missed out on it. And I'm telling you, it's going to be the same here. It's just too easy to solve. And also the stats tracking, the people that have the stat thing on their computer and stuff, it's people running Luke. It's like the people that are in tune with the meta and stuff. So it's also like falsified numbers too a little bit. So I agree. I think that there is going to be a slower, increase for her. Laufey's coming. I mean, there's a lot benefiting that. And I think that that's definitely going to tame her. But I think she will add to that archetype. And if you enjoy it, you're going to feast here. And I'm hoping she does high evo enough to make it at least like semi better.
I guess it's a point to say that, like you had just mentioned, like we're kind of talking in circles in a sense, because you just mentioned that it's likely, or you would predict that there would be a nerf to the Affliction archetype within the next couple of OTAs. And yet we do have this absolutely overpowered catch-all tech card in Luke Cage that completely nullifies the entire archetype. So it's kind of funny, right? To think that, like, yeah, Luke Cage will destroy the entire archetype, but also it's not good enough to like keep the entire archetype in check. So I don't know. And I was even thinking about like how in my deck building, I'm going to try and mitigate Luke Cage. I know Enchantress is making some decks right now because ongoing is pretty popular, but the problem is that the Affliction decks run a lot of ongoings themselves. And so there's a position of possible collateral damage with your own cards. So I'm thinking that there's a chance that I might actually run Rogue, because I think that Rogue might have a better time hitting the Luke Cages, because at higher MMRs, I think you're going to see Luke Cages being placed into the Diamondback locations or whatever in order to prevent the easy Enchantress style play. And I feel like Rogue might be a better call there. Another card I want to shout out quickly, and I know that's one that you love and one that you were high on, is Malekith. I think that Malekith is going to be really good in these Diamondback decks, not only because it can pull Diamondback, but it can pull Hazmat and other kind of cards that will impact the board in the way that you want, because you can have the Diamondback on the field of play, pull the Hazmat with the Malekith, and because it's an ongoing, you're still going to feast.
Yeah. First, I want to say to Enchantress, I love the way it's designed. I mean, you would attack Diamondback every time if you have Enchantress in the deck, because it would shut down the Ajax too in a good amount of, because whatever's with Diamondback is also trying to be ongoing, and maybe it's US Agent. You have a lot of bang for buck there. And Malekith, that's a cheeky one. I like that because, yeah, it's a way to save resources, get good stats out there, and then have whatever your setup plan is. After a while, when that deck does get traction, I think it'll be more obvious. But in the first coming weeks, like if you want to play this style and not just get Luke Cage like out the gate, this is definitely a path you can take. But yeah, man, I think it'll be fun. I think it's going to be, you've got the new game mode coming, so people are going to be doing different decks in there. And then in the main ladder, expect to see a lot of Luke Cage, a lot of Diamondback, and kind of everything in between. Get the tech cards ready. It is a token week, by the way. The spotlights, I think, what is it, Nimrod and Phoenix Force? I feel like the 20th time.
Yeah, and do not roll caches.
No, not at all. Not
to
at
say
all.
the least.
My gosh. So with Sanctum coming out, guys, we've got a lot to break down with the new game mode. We've got a whole little FAQ to talk about what it is, what to expect, and so you can prep yourself up, and then the pros and the cons of it. Now, first of all, here's the big thing. The game in general and the rules of how it's going to go is you're going to earn points each time, each turn from the locations that you're winning. So every turn you're going to get points. Each location is worth 1 point, and then we've said this, that if there's one with a Sanctum, the bonus, you're going to get bonus points from that. And then every turn the Sanctum is going to be moving, and so you have to kind of focus on what locations that you should probably prioritize. Starting on turn 3, you can snap and add additional bonus points to the Sanctum location. First person to get 16 points is going to win. And then there's going to be a maximum of 15 turns. So definitely a much different game mode, much faster, spreading your cards, and less, not less synergy, but really the stats are going to matter on this one, right? Like what cards do you want to play, Alex? In my opinion, it's ones that can, we'll talk about these more in excess in a second, but it's ones that are going to not only be high power quickly, but don't cost a lot, so you can spread yourself out. Ones that can move and are adaptable, and ones that just have synergy with location benefits, I think are going to be the major winners.
Yeah, I find this is going to be pretty unique in the sense of like the moving location, I think is really fascinating. And I think it's going to make people want to be a little reactive. However, there's some cards that really do benefit from that, like even something as simple as a Cosmo, right? Like Cosmo, knowing where they're more likely to try and contest if you have initiative, that's really helpful. Think about how relevant Sam Wilson's going to be, where you can be putting him and moving the shield around potentially to contest locations. I think that like cards that are flexible will be cards that are primarily very effective in this game mode.
Yes, and most importantly, there is a banned card list, and it's not one, it's not two like the previous game modes we had. There's a lot of banned cards this time around, so I'll read them out just so you guys kind of get the gist of it. So Annihilus starting off the list, and obviously they're focused a lot on clog and locations and like because how important some of that stuff is. Annihilus, Captain Marvel, Debris Dracula, Galactus, Green Goblin, Hobgoblin, Juggernaut, Invisible Woman, Kang, which is hilarious, M'Baku, Magic, Malekith, Martyr, Mysterio, Quake, Storm, Supergiant, and Viper. So a lot you have off the cuff that have something to do with like into the game. The other half is a bunch of location changers or location stuff. And then you also have ones that are involved with clogging of some effect, right? Legion is not on this list, which is kind of crazy. And there's a couple other ones that you think would have checked the boxes there. But any thoughts on the ban cards?
Yeah, I think they're going after Clog, and very specifically, I think they're like, some of these bans are to like save the player base. It's like, hey, dude, you ran Dracula and it triggers at the end of the game. It's effectively useless this entire time.
Yeah.
Right? So like, yeah, and even like Supergiant and stuff like that, because Supergiant would like just remove an entire turn, right? It would just kind of destroy an entire turn and make initiative so powerful. Invisible Woman would be completely useless till the absolute end of the game. Right? It's like, so yeah, I think that some of them is like, we're protecting, we're saving yourself over here with these bans. But one that didn't get banned that I'm kind of interested in, I want to see, again, we haven't played the mode yet, so we actually don't know if this will work and stuff like that. But I just thought of like Tribunal might be interesting. Like, Tribunal is able to very easily contest everything all at once. And I wonder if it's a pretty good catch-all to like playing the game mode, but not playing the game mode. Like the most AFK version of the game mode possible is Tribunal.
I like Scream just because of that. They're not going to give some... listen, you could clog the opponent with your own cards and make them like have to change what they're doing. Then Scream's going to be feasting, so you're going to win that location a lot. I feel like that's going to do well. Living Tribunal is interesting. I didn't even think of that, and like building up to it a bit differently. Move cards in general is going to be huge, obviously because of that. I mean, Groot and Rocket is an insane. Rocket and Groot's going to be a very good card. But that whole Scream deck just feels like it's got a lot to just win. And I don't know, man. We're going to see, obviously... To me, the most exciting part of new game modes is always especially ones with unique rules, right? So we saw this with High Voltage, is like the first day. People are just throwing everything at the wall. We have no idea about the stats. It just makes it super fun. That in particular, I'm pumped for.
Yeah, it's exciting when like no one has it figured out, right? But yeah, like Madam Web, I think is going to be good in this particular mode. And I was even thinking about like Iron Patriot. And you would think, oh, it's not that big a deal. But like Iron Patriot might encourage them to play off of the Sanctum location. Because it's like, oh, do I try to win the Sanctum, or do I play into this Patriot, which is going to get a free or like an inexpensive card because he's going to win the location, right? I think that's kind of fascinating.
No, I think and because you could just get an insanely good card to lock one down too, and I think that because there's so many turns, you have so many ways to be able to use that in the right way. Keep in mind with up to 15 turns, guys, there's a lot of different strategy you could pull off. But we're going to see a whole little new meta here. I would say stick with what you're good at, and it's important though to do so. Because of the way this is going to work. So you have scrolls to play the game, right? You use a scroll to play. It's kind of like a conquest ticket. And if you win, you get your scroll back, okay? You're going to earn 2 scrolls every 8 hours, as in you're going to have that regenerated. And let's start there. But theoretically, if you keep winning, you get to keep on playing, and then you earn charms to use in the reward shop, and we'll get to all of that in just a moment. How do you feel about the scroll system?
Not a huge fan of it. I hope that they're generous up front, even if for my own sake, because like I'll be streaming at the time that it launches. So it's like if I run out of scrolls, people are going to want to see me play the new game mode. So I'm going to have to, feed the second dinner coffers, right? And it's just a sad reality of it all. But the other side to that is that like if the redemption is very slow, like 2 every 8 hours, like, all right, if you go to bed and you get a bunch of them, that's probably fine. But one thing that has kind of resonated with me, especially with this new mode, was I remember during High Voltage, Glenn had mentioned something where like the second dinner prefers to have game modes with stakes, right? They want to have stakes in it, and High Voltage lacked those stakes. And therefore, as a mode, it might not necessarily be something that like is preferred and you liked or whatever. I don't know what word you want to use there. But for me, it's like I love the idea of an alternate game mode being a place where you can go and legit just stress-free, have so much fun with the cards and the variants and like just let things go boom. And I kind of really like that. With the scroll system, I feel like it really incentivized sweaty play because of the idea of like going like infinite with it. Like infinite literally meaning like you can continue to play if you're good enough to continue to play. If you have a 100% win rate or whatever, or technically above 50%, like you'll just be winning and you'll keep going, right? But if you dip, then all of a sudden you got to wait or you got to pay. So I don't know if I like that element of the stakes.
No, it sucks. I mean, it is what it is. Calling it what it is. I think it just reminds me about the mobile game aspect, right? Like restricting game mode is never fun. You know, even if they're giving a generous amount at the beginning, which is cool. If they give like a good amount, then theoretically you would have to lose like crazy to lose that, right? Because you know, you're going to get one back if you win. And so as long as they give a good, decent starting amount, how they put it is essentially, let's see. Well, if you keep winning, you'll never run out. But in addition to free ones, you're going to receive on the first day. And from sorcerer ranks, you'll get more scrolls. So, okay, so I guess you're going to get more again, like I said, the first day, and then they're 40 gold a pop after that. If that first initial bonus is a lot, then cool. I think it's fine because, you know, if you lose your tail off, then it's kind of like self-inflicted. But I will say, yeah, man, I think it's just anything that limits game modes is a bummer. You know, they work hard on these modes. I think the problem is they put them in a cycle and they want that cycle to last. And if someone does it too much, like that's how they're thinking of it. But I don't think that's the right way to think about it, because I think if someone plays the ever living tar out of your game, you should reward them for that, which will be our next topic of conversation for the charms. I don't know. It's just not a feel good. It's not a feel good. Getting a scroll back is good. I think that's a bonus there, but it does have that kind of behavior. Yeah. As you said, sweat mentality. It's less. Makes it less fun. Now, you get charms if you win. You can use the charms to get variants, avatars, emotes, borders, and up to 7 cards. And this is where people are starting to freak out a little bit. Starting to freak out. Don't freak out. But this is what they've said. So how many rewards should I expect to earn? Now, we've sold this before when we were looking at the game mode where we said big dubs, right? Because you can have either, I think you could pull one of, is it 4 cards, 3 cards? And then you also have an access to a series 4 or 5 that you don't own, which is awesome. Players that use all of their available free scrolls and maintain a 50% win rate should be able to acquire enough charms to purchase 2 portal pulls or other items of equal value. So, essentially, free-to-play players are going to get 2 cards from the portal. And what stinks about that is it could be Uncle Ben and, you know, Gorgon and not, you know, Laufey, which I think a lot of people are aiming for Laufey. I think that's what a lot of people want. So you don't get picks. You have an RNG element there. And you have to decide. That means you can maybe get 1, maybe 2 unowned Series 4 or 5. That's a bummer. I mean, point blank, right? I mean, yeah, I feel like I've been talking a while, but that's a bummer, no?
How dare you talk on a podcast, sir?
I know. Awful.
But like, you even have that Jeff emote staring you in the face too, which is super expensive, I'll add. It's like, do I get a card or do I get the Jeff emote? I might take Jeff, honestly. I don't know. I'm just stupid like that. But you're right. First of all, to answer your question, for anybody that's thinking about rolling, you're gonna get Uncle Ben. You know that. Like, we all know you're gonna get Uncle Ben. Just accept that. Anything else is like, you know, just thank your lucky stars, as they say. So yeah, Uncle Ben's gonna be in everyone's collection. And I was like man, like, I'm not saying give everyone everything away for free all the time. However, I was like, man, 2 cards for a new game mode. It's good on the surface, and I think that we shouldn't complain because it's 2 cards, even though there's an RNG side. But you got that big shop, and there's all those things you want, and I feel like people are going to start FOMOing. And I feel like people not getting the Jeff emote, not getting, and it's gonna be frustrating because they're gonna see those hooks. They're gonna feel those monetary hooks. They're gonna feel the desire to buy more scrolls, and they're gonna buy scrolls, and they're gonna lose, and they're gonna tilt, and they're gonna take it to Reddit. That's what's gonna happen. People are gonna spend their gold on these scrolls, and they're gonna lose, and they're gonna lose to Surtur, and they're gonna lose to whatever, and they're gonna lose their minds. And I feel like that might not necessarily be great for everyone's mental health.
Yeah, so 2 takes on it. And guys, yeah, I've seen comments, I think the last couple ones, like you guys, they've said, it seems like Alex and Cozy being more pessimistic. It's not. We're just like, if we don't say it, it's not being said loudly enough. And so, you know, we're just kind of speaking the immediate stuff on our mind. I would say 2-part. First of all, I do think that if you play the heck out of the game, that you should be rewarded for it, right? So if they I feel like if the scroll, you already have the scroll thing in effect. So the charms, I feel like if you keep playing and you love the game mode, then you should be getting more and more cards for free, especially because they keep saying that they're not happy with card acquisition. This was an easier way to do that, much easier way to do it. And I feel like what would solve this, to me at least, is if it was a pick your portal. Because for me personally, if I get Ben and Gorgon and then not Laufey and then I can't get a Series 4 or 5, that stinks. I mean, that's a big bummer there. And if you would be able to pick I don't like that there's an RNG element, like another spotlight cash element kind of inside this, right? And you just hope you get the card that you want. Even if you want Uncle Ben, I don't know what you want, but if you want that card, you don't have that guaranteed choice for it, and that doesn't feel great. I wish even if they were just individual cards within the shop, and then you could pick the one you want, that also could just feel better all around. You know, I get the portal thing, Sanctum, we don't need to be on theme for it. Personally, that's how I feel. But this is the way it is, guys, and this is the way it is going to be. So do prep up for that. Don't be buying the Jeff emote if you want other cards. You know, it's just not going to be possible to get it. But yeah, if you win a lot. The other thing is that I wanted to say about the scroll system is that if they give you a good amount of scrolls ahead of time, that's fair. I like that. However, I feel like the problem with that the most is, to what you said, it's going to be sweaty. It doesn't allow you to test with decks. This is a whole new game mode, like high voltage, man. It took a while to figure out some cool stuff to get together. You have to go in there and just like hope it's good right off the rip, right? And so the creativity is going to be brought down a bit, and you're going to have less chances to test some theories, test some cards out, because those scrolls matter so much, right? That's kind of my feelings on it.
No, I absolutely agree. And the other side to that is, like, I want to just like say that, like, getting free cards into the ecosystem is a good thing. Like, I don't want to say here, like, oh, you know, they made the free cards too hard to get through this game mode and the scrolls. Like, the fact that free cards are achievable is a good thing for Snap. It's a good positive step forward. And I think that's something with like Deadpool's Diner and with High Voltage, which are generally positive things. Like, you can get these cards for free. However, in this specific case, there's a gotcha element to the rolls. And even so, they're stating that, you know, you're getting 1 or 2 rolls, which means that you're not getting the third, right? And so I'm thinking about, like, yeah, we're getting free cards, but also the hamster wheel's still there. You know what I mean? The treadmill of, like, you're not catching up is still there. And so, like, free cards are good, but there's still a card now that's going to be empty in your collection because, like, you know, you will not be able to keep your collection complete unless you give them those greenbacks. You know what I mean? So, like, there's two sides to this, and I'm not, again, without playing the game mode, I'm just throwing it out there. You're getting a couple free cards, but the pool's also getting a little bigger.
Yeah, I remember how nice you were about free cards when King Eitri came to the game. You were so nice about King Eitri being such a free card that you wanted, Alex, and that he was so good for the game. Actually, he's gonna be good with that one card coming out, right? I forgot even what card that was. Is it the spell guy, man? Agamotto. He'll be good for Agamotto.
Yeah. Who's that clown that, like, didn't even make? Who's, like, oh my gosh, the guy with, like, a cobra. Remember, I didn't even realize he was in the game, and then he didn't even make the data mines. I don't even know what happened to him.
Died,
like,
dude.
I forgot him. I think the devs forgot about him too.
Card died. These cards are going to go to the token shop March 13th, which I also think is good. But also, if they come Series 5, right now, you have Uncle Ben coming into rotation, dude.
I think they're Series 4.
Are they? Okay.
I think they might
come into rotation. But yeah, they are coming to March 13th via the token shop if you don't want to play the game, whatever. So do know that. And then added to the vault 1 year after their first appearance. The vault? What the hell does that mean?
Is that referencing the variants?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know why they would. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, the vault, the collector's
vault or
whatever.
Maybe variants are part of the pool of card things.
Oh, that makes sense. The rewards there, they would come from a year from then. Yeah. Oh, okay, so the variants are more exclusive, which there are some good ones in there. But yeah, so overall, I think the game mode, I'm pumped for, like, at a surface level, I'm pumped for a new way to play Snap. I'm pumped for a big ban list, creativity. Not a fan of the scroll system, and, you know, the rewards. Yeah, I personally think it's. I wish if someone committed enough time, they could get what they wanted. But hey, I do understand. I guess why put like, how many can you purchase in there? 3 or 4? Oh, because you could just spend money to get more. That makes sense. I wonder how much that is too, and if it equals to spotlight rolls. I don't know.
This is the thing that also makes me nervous about, like, draft mode and stuff. Are they just going to monetize it to the point no one's going to want to play it? You know what I mean?
Oh,
like, when I play Hearthstone, I don't play Arena because I'm not buying tickets. Like, I don't want that. Like, that's not the way I like to do things. And so it's like, I wonder if draft mode comes out, if it has all these scrolls and all these monetary mobile systems. It's just like blah blah blah. Like, I don't want to play this. It's like, make it free, make it accessible. So I think you're right, Cozy. I think that just getting people in the game mode, getting them playing, getting them rewards. People in the ecosystem, we're the hardcores, man. We're the hardcore Snap lovers, enjoyers. Give us something.
And I will say, like, I think, again, I'm actually a fan of these limited time game modes. I think that they just have to be the rewards have to be done the right way. But anyway, this is what to expect. That'll all be coming out pretty soon, and that's going to bring us to our last subject. So the subject on this is Marvel Snap China, and I think a couple people are going to be a bit confused by it. But if you don't know, Marvel Snap is available in China, and I'm not quite sure on the specifics whether it's a different developer or a different developer within Second Dinner. But it's very interesting, and they have some different things than we have over here, and I thought I wanted to open up the topic for conversation for a couple reasons. First of all, they do have some different variants, which is, some people, I'm not bothered by it. It's cool. Get whatever variants. There must be a reason they're not over here. But Alex, some of these are absolutely, they're cooking, dude. Let me put them on screen. Well, look at this Kitty Pride, man. Absolutely. Wow. You'd be purchased that day one. That's an Alex Kocha written all over it.
Come on, man. Why you got to do me dirty like that? But also, yes.
Because of this one right here. We've got this. Okay.
This is why you wanted to do this topic. Let's be honest.
I'm busted, dude. I'm so pissed. I'm pissed off. I want that. I don't know. I just want to know why. Why can't I have my fair share? X23 has got her own variant. You got Jubilee. There's Thanos. There's a lot of variants that they have, but that's not really the subject of conversation here. The subject.
Oh my gosh, dude! Do they have water in China? Because it looks pretty thirsty over there.
I know, dude. But they have a couple other features too. So I thought this was kind of cool. They've got you can re-roll all your variants that are in the shop there for free on one day, and then I think it's like 60 gold to do it again, which I think is a cool concept.
Yeah, dude, I love it. I think it's a great. I can't believe that the variant shop is as bad as it is. Okay, so I don't buy a lot of variants. I just don't. I don't know what it is. I got like 55,000 gold. I don't know why I don't spend
gosh.
it. Yeah, it's stupid. I don't know why I don't spend it. I'm a hoarder. Even in like RPGs and stuff, I think I've joked about this in the past. I'm the guy who plays and doesn't assign any of his skill points because I'm scared of commitment. Okay, so anyways, that's a whole other conversation for therapy. But I don't understand why this doesn't exist. There's a couple variants that I've been searching for forever. For instance, there's a Malekith variant where it's like the painted ones. I don't remember who does it. Is it Victor something? I wish I remember the name. But it's like this beautiful painted variant, and it was there the first day, obviously, when Malekith was in. And I was like, I want to buy it, and I'm like, nah, I won't buy it. Then I changed my mind because I actually really liked Malekith. I'm like, if I really like a card, I want a good variant for it. And then it just never came back. It never came back. I can't find it. I'm like, man, I want to spend some gold. And this card just doesn't exist. This variant doesn't exist. I would love a chance to refresh or even just buy a variant that I actually want. Miss me with this FOMO garbage. Let me look at more variants.
I agree. I think a reroll is not that big of a deal. I know they want people to daily log in each time, but I feel like this is another way to do that, man, because they can come in and do their refresh. Even a refresh on a 12-hour timer, then you get 2 logins, man. And then if they're logged in, they're going to play. I don't know. I feel like I saw this. I was like, man, this should come to this to our side of Snap for sure.
Yeah, or even refresh because you have to log in 3 times a day now for the 25 credits. Just refresh with the credits, man.
Yeah,
is it that hard?
Dude, now the other thing too is they're in a different build. So their Loki does what our Loki did, where you get your opponent's cards or whatever. They've got.
Oh, we're moving to China.
Dude, they've got a different build. I think they even have different OTAs, different cards in time. We're gonna have to do a review on some of the China cards eventually, because there's some. I think they might be different altogether. I haven't looked into it that much, but I heard about it. I was like, dude, I gotta bring this up on the Snapchat. Here's the other thing too, man. They have this. They had a tournament, and I don't know if I read this wrong. Johnson, who was in, I think one of the Conqueror events, guy was insane, man. He was really good. I was casting that one. I was like, man, who is this guy? He's amazing. His team won the China Open. I don't know what it was called, but the Marvel Snap. They have tournaments in China. They have an organized, and this isn't the first one. They have several of these organized tournaments. I think I read a $17,000 tournament, man. Which is so good for the right? How cool is that, man? And I'm mad just because I want to cast it too. But they're having tournaments over there too, and it's proven to be, I think, a success there. That to me is awesome. I wish, I think by that now it's too late for us to have competitive scene, or at least I don't think we're gonna get one. But this showcase that it can be done, and it'd be so cool if they could do that. For us here, I saw this and I was like, it's a bummer that we never got it,
Oh man, it's so sad. It's so sad. Snappy Claus would 100% come out of retirement for that. Snappy Claus would love to get 17K. I mean, if that's 17K American, that's like $150,000 Canadian. Let's be honest. So, yeah, like first of all, I love it. I love it, and I wonder if, like, first of all, I think there's still opportunities to do some competitive stuff, right? Like, you still have avenues where you could do a lot of interesting stuff. Like, you got PAX, which loves card games, stuff like that. But the other side to that is like maybe, just me, I'm throwing it out there. Maybe there should be like a Marvel Con or something like that, where like Marvel Rivals is championship is done there. There's a Marvel Snap championship.
Pokemon does that.
There's
yeah.
like wouldn't that be cool? Yeah, exactly. Pokemon does it. Like their Worlds is a celebration and a championship of all their different Pokemon games. Why doesn't Marvel do that? Wouldn't that be so awesome?
I bet you they can definitely do it now with Rivals out, and given the popularity of it, like I feel like there wasn't enough any Marvel games, right? Like that were competitive enough. Now you have a few now that can make it work. But yeah, that's a good idea, man. I actually didn't even think about that. But yeah, so I thought it was interesting. We'll have to, figure out another time, kind of go through their cards there and stuff. But this is the team that won. I don't even know what deck. I think it was a War Machine deck, but it was a different War Machine.
I don't want to ask a stupid question, but how the hell did they make Marvel Snap a team game?
I don't know. Either way, this is the subject that's going to end it on this side of the Snapchat, guys. Happy new game mode week. If you guys want to hear about Red Wing in review, the series drops that came, which cards and our thoughts on them in the Snapchat mailbag, go ahead and check out Alex's side. You guys have a good one. Have a great one. To the next one. Happy snapping.